you awake? I see. So the storms woke you up, and now you've noticed that the power is off. Yeah, that does kind of make it hard to go back to sleep without air conditioning, especially as muggy and humid as it is. You want me to see if I can light a candle? Alright, let me see if I can. I've got a lighter right here. Unfortunately, the lighter does seem to be out of fluid, so I think we will be sitting here in the dark, unfortunately. Oh, you want me to see if... Oh, you want to watch me play my Nintendo Switch? Alright, let me see if it's charged. Well, unfortunately, the Nintendo Switch is not charged, so it's going to be very difficult to play it. You want me to pretend like I'm playing it? Okay, well, I can click some buttons. You don't think that's how playing a Nintendo Switch would sound? Well, it's kind of hard to emulate that because there wouldn't be many button presses. Oh, you're okay with the button presses? Alright, well then I'll continue. Seems that the rain is picking up and there might be bad weather, but it's okay because it looks like it is heading away from us. But I understand that that is still very scary. I've had a lot of calls with tornadoes whenever I was younger and lived with my parents. Unfortunately, they now have a storm shelter, so I don't have to worry about them as much anymore, because they can just take themselves and the dogs and go down into the storm shelter. They even have a nice area to lay down pillows and blankets. Although, I always do get a little worried about what if some critters crawl down there. I guess they don't want to get taken out by the tornado either, so it does make sense. You know, with the storms being the way they are, it reminds me of the movie Godzilla King of the Monsters, not to be confused with one of the older Godzilla movies, the Americanized Godzilla King of the Monsters of the original movie, which is interesting because that was done as propaganda to take out any reference to the atomic bomb because of what America did to Japan during the war. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit off topic. But the point is, the storm is reminding me of how King Ghidorah... You like that word? Well, I'm not judging. Okay, I'll say it a few more times if you want to hear it. Ghidorah, 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 King Ghidorah. But anyway, so whenever he would come to wherever he was going, he would bring a massive storm that would interrupt whatever weather was going on in the region. And this just kind of reminded me of that. Obviously, it's not as extreme, but, I'm always thinking about Godzilla, so of course I would think about this. You think I'm trying to just cope with the storms? Well, that could be it too. That's a big possibility. I don't like tornadoes, but I do like watching documentaries that show people dealing with tornadoes, or I guess it would be chasing them. And it's very exciting to watch for me, but I don't want anything bad to happen to anybody. But I guess I enjoy the adrenaline rush from a safe distance, because I'm not the one taking the risk. Someone else is, and I also would like to see tornadoes more in video games, where they interact and destroy things. I know some people will say Minecraft has a mod like that, and while that is very cool, it isn't the same as having a more realistic, scary look to it. But I am still glad that the Minecraft version exists, because that is really cool to have that as another challenge to deal with in Minecraft. Oh, you would like to hear some tapping noises? Well, I do have this Swiss Miss can of chocolate powder. I could give it a try and see what it sounds like, and maybe it'll be enjoyable to you. I hope that those tapping sounds were relaxing and you found them to be comforting. Oh, you wish we could watch a movie? Yeah, that would be nice. What's that? Oh, what's some of my favorite movies? Well, let's see. I would say my favorite movie is between Godzilla -1 and Alita Battle Angel. Some people don't think it's a very good movie. I, on the other hand, really love this movie and think it is a very good story and a very good female character, a strong female character. I would say Lord of the Rings, the extended trilogy, is definitely up there in the movies I really like. I mean, I must like it a lot because I watch it at least once a year. So, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't watch it that much. Let's see, what else do we got? I obviously like all the Godzilla movies for different reasons, even the bad ones. I'm really enjoying the Sonic the Hedgehog movies and seeing how they adapt things and watching how they adapt Jim Carrey as Robotnik and his transformation between the three movies. And I'm very excited to see what they do next. Another series that I really like is the Ip Man series. the ones with Donnie Yen, they're not very historically accurate. They kind of take they take their own liberties, do things differently, but regardless of that, I think it makes for good storytelling, even if it isn't necessarily the way the things actually happen. I also, of course, like the Jurassic Park movies because I like dinosaurs. I do wish there was more dinosaur movies, but I guess I have to be grateful for what we get. The Lost World Jurassic Park is my favorite one, and I actually like the movie, even though I definitely can see the issues with it. I am very excited for the new Jurassic World movie because it looks like it's taking, and seeing that the raft scene is being used in a movie finally is very cool, because I know they couldn't do it in the original movie because of all the limitations, but it is really cool to see that it's coming back for this movie. I also really like the Miles Morales Spider-Man movies they've been making. The animation is beautiful and creative. I just generally like his character story. I don't want to say too much and ruin them, but if you haven't seen them, you should definitely watch them. They're very wholesome, and they still have a lot of tension for a movie that's more aimed towards kids. Speaking of dinosaur media, I'm very excited for the release of Primal Season 3. I know we've been waiting a very long time, but I genuinely love that show so much. It has a lot of creativity in the way that it explores the stories and the way that it just kind of throws fantasy in with it. So that'll be one that I'm really looking forward to also. Another set of movies that I really like are the Jordan Peele movies. His movies have very well thought out messaging and are still very fun. Get Out is a lot of people's favorite, and I think it's very well done. But for me, my favorite is Nope. The whole different idea of that movie just really works for me. I'm gonna have to spoil it a little bit to talk about it, so if you haven't seen the movie Nope, I would recommend you don't listen to what I'm about to say. So the idea of the alien ship that is hunting them from the skies, it's kind of like a reverse Jaws because of it being in the sky instead of the water, which I think is very creepy and cool, and especially because there's not really very many places to hide in the middle of that desert area. And I also really like how funny the movie is with the sister and the brother, and the fact that the movie is a horror movie, but also kind of turns into an adventure movie at a certain point. It's very well done. Now, another trilogy, if you want to call either one that, of movies I like, are the Simon Pegg and Nick Frost movies, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End. They're very funny, and in fact, I have watched Hot Fuzz I don't even know how many times. Simon Pegg, his performance of the cop who's super serious, while Nick Frost is very silly, is just very endearing and hilarious to see the contrast between the two. Shaun of the Dead is still very good, but it's definitely not my favorite. But it's only because The other two are just way, way up there for me. Doesn't mean I don't like that movie. I like how that one does the comedy with the zombies for sure. World's End is very good because of the way that it's funny, but that movie will actually make you cry, which I wasn't expecting. I don't want to say too much about that one. Well, I guess I could. Have you seen the movie? Okay, well then I'll go ahead and say here, but if anyone hasn't seen the movie, don't listen to what I'm saying. So, in the movie, the aliens that are taking over, in the way that the main character reveals that he just is trying to have fun whenever his adult life has not gone very well. And just something about the way he says they tell me when to go to bed is just very heartbreaking. One more dinosaur media thing that I almost forgot to mention is Primitive War. I listened to the audiobook on Audible. Now, they have a movie coming out soon for it, and if it is anything like the violence in the book, it is going to be what a lot of more horror fans want from a dinosaur movie, so that'll be pretty cool. We'll see what they actually bring to the big screen, as there are some pretty horrendous, violent things that happen in that book, and possibly the upcoming movie. Oh, now you want to hear me talk about some of my favorite video games? I assume me rambling about things I like is helping you drift off to sleep. It's either because you find it boring, or because you just find it relaxing to hear me talk, and so you're trying to give me something to talk about. Well, either way I can provide you. So, my number one favorite video game series is Resident Evil. And I would say probably Resident Evil 4 is my favorite. And I really like how they did the remake, where it stays pretty true to the original, and adding some things and rearranging some things to surprise you. So that one definitely is my favorite, I would say. Plus, everyone loves Leon. Leon has great style. And I remember I always wanted a bomber jacket. I got really close to getting one time, but it cost a lot of money and I was a lot younger, so I was like, maybe I should just not buy this and I could just get more video games. Resident Evil Village is definitely up there for me, because I've played through it quite a few times. Some people don't care for Ethan Winter's story, but I really like his silly little quips that he says that don't quite land. Like, for instance, when you beat the first boss, Lady D, and she says something to the effect of "you'll always be cursed" or something, and he just goes, "You're the one who's cursed." It's so perfectly dumb, and I love it. He's such a dad. Now, another Resident Evil game that I really like a lot, I would say, is obviously the original, because the original in the mansion has, that's where everything began, but it has a lot more creep factor, especially with the fixed camera angles, although I'm opposed to seeing a remake of that in the Resident Evil 2 style, because that could be really cool. Another video game series that I really like is The Legend of Zelda. I like the open world Zelda games, but for me, I'm one of those weirdos that likes the linear Zelda games the best, like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess. Those are some of my faves, and of course, can't forget Wind Waker, which they still haven't re-released the HD version of. So thankfully I'm one of the 10 people who has a Wii U and I can still play them. One day maybe they'll port it to the Switch too. Probably not the Switch one, because now that they got Switch 2, they want more reasons to sell the console, I have a feeling. So we'll see how that goes with that and Twilight Princess HD. But I still, like I said, like the open world. I just kind of would like one bigger dungeons instead of a bajillion small ones. But we'll see if other people agree with me on that one. Another video game that I really like from my childhood is Banjo-Kazooie, because I love collectathons. It's probably why I also love Mario Odyssey, 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy. But there's just something to the silly character of Banjo-Kazooie with the very silly characters that are very much from the 90s, I would definitely say, by the way they act and look. Another video game that I really like is Animal Crossing, because when you don't want to do anything serious, it is the perfect relaxing game to play, to just go and pay off your debt, raid your house, collect fruit and insects and fossils. And it was the perfect game to play during the pandemic when we really couldn't go anywhere. Another game, let's see, I'm gonna name just 2 more. So, I would say Dragon's Dogma 2. The first one's really good, but the second one really knocks it out of the park. I really like how it's an open game, but it's still somewhat linear in the way that it presents itself. So it's not a massive open world, and you gotta really look to find the secrets. I also like the way that it does its combat in that game. It really keeps me engaged. More that I'd like to mention, because I could go on forever about video games, is One Piece World Seeker, because I like how it, even though it's not canon, it makes a fun adventure on a new island, so that way you can do whatever you want and you're not tied down to what happens in the other story arcs. But I would recommend getting through Whole Cake Island before playing it, so you don't ruin anything, because One Piece is really good. And I'm part of that now because I'm caught up. I never thought I would get that into One Piece, but here I am. You said you're starting to get hungry. Yeah, me too. It's tough when it's late at night and you can't go to sleep and then you get hungry, because you're like, should I really eat when I'm going back to sleep? The bad thing is, what I'd really like to do is make a pizza and then we could have it. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll get the cheap Red Baron pizzas and I will put more toppings on it, like shredded cheese, maybe get some pepperoni from the deli, things like that. It really takes a pizza that's just alright and amplifies it quite a bit. Oh, yeah, that would be good. Sometimes just getting crab crackers and cheese is nice for a snack, especially if it's more expensive cheese. Lately, I have been getting the Cracker Barrel cheese, and that has been a very tasty option. But any cheese, the more you spend on it, the better it gets. I don't know why, but I just know it's true. One other snack that I almost forgot to mention that I sometimes have with my breakfast is you make some toast and you put butter on it, and then you mix up some cinnamon with sugar and you sprinkle that on there, and it's very tasty and it's a very light snack. Sometimes if your stomach's upset, just having toast is nice, especially with that cinnamon. Since we're talking about getting snacks, another snack that sounds really good right now is some Oreos with some milk to dip it in. You have to let them soak for just the right amount though, because if you do it a little too long they crumble, but if you do it at just the right time, they're perfect. The problem with the Oreos though is before you know it, you've eaten a whole sleeve, and it's very hard to not do that. Sometimes what I do with snacks is I separate them into containers, and that seems to usually help me not go crazy. Although the other night I did eat so much that I kind of felt sick, which I felt a little ashamed because I have all this food, and thankfully I do, but why am I eating till I make myself sick when I could just eat a normal amount and have food longer? So that's what I'm going to try to do, but I don't know what came over me. I just wanted to keep eating, and before I knew it, I was sitting there going, why did I do this? This was not a good idea. You know, it is a shame that the power's out, because I would show you some of my toys maybe another time. The nice thing about it is, the more time that goes on, the more toys I'll have to show you, like my One Piece collection, my manga, trading cards that are coming in, dinosaurs and Godzilla. Well, it seems like you are nice and relaxed, so that's good, because I know it can be hard to relax when the power's off, because if you're anything like me, I like to have some kind of background noise for me to focus on, which helps me go to sleep easier. Which sounds funny, because some people, or I should say, it sounds funny to some people, because they like having absolute silence to go to sleep, which is hard for me to imagine, because I struggle to sleep that way. But I guess to each their own. But I have to have the fan on, or something relaxing. Sometimes it's rain. Sometimes it's delta waves. Sometimes it's a live train camera in, I think it's Switzerland. And something about the clunk of the tracks really relaxes me. You know what I mean? You know, yeah, oh, you like that? Good clunk, good clunk. Good clunk, good clunk. Clunk, clunk. Good clunk, good clunk. But yeah, so that's the kind of stuff that helps me relax. But you're looking like you're ready to fall asleep. So I think I'll leave you alone, and I'm gonna lay down and try to go to sleep too. According to my phone, in about an hour, the energy should come back on, or I should say electricity and then we should have air conditioning. So for now, I will say good night, and I hope you have a good rest.